At the Ames Public Library, we welcome program proposals. So please contact me or any of our staff if you ever have an idea that you'd like to explore with us. You probably noticed that there are some slides in the background, and I want everyone to know that this is a amalgam of Ebere's slides from Instagram and from the display at the library. And these are also available at the Ames Public Library's website, so you can take a look at them. We'll be turning them off in a few minutes, but if you want to explore them a little bit further at home or later, you're more than welcome to do that. More Than Monoliths is a collaboration between the APL and Cameron Gray's new project, the Buxton Initiative, which aims to promote, celebrate, and create space for an array of Black artists and their work. And I'm going to read the same intro for Cam as I did last month because he's worked so hard on his own work, but also for the community and for fellow artists. And I think it's really worth repeating his experience and the motivations as I've kind of gathered from reading some of his other bios, but they definitely inform his work. Cameron Gray grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. As an undergrad at Auburn University, he focused on his feelings about racism in his very first art class. After graduating from Auburn in 2013 with a Bachelor of Fine Arts and a concentration in printmaking, Cam moved to St. Louis to work as a press assistant with an established printmaker. Cameron earned a Master's of Fine Arts from Iowa State University last summer. Cameron does not shy away from direct and difficult conversations with the community about Blackness. His art makes statements, and his work is often a form of protest. Cameron wants reactions from people. He wants awareness. He wants dialogue about heavy historical truths and their ongoing effect on Black people. And I'm sure Cam will explain his current project in Des Moines when he joins us shortly, or at the end, or both. That would be great. As I mentioned earlier, the Buxton Initiative is a wide-ranging collaborative effort which promotes the beauty of Blackness, offering opportunities to learn, celebrate, preserve, and embrace the Black experience. And by creating Black-centered spaces tonight virtually, once I leave, the Buxton Initiative gives voices to Black stories. And in case you haven't seen Ebere's post or Jill Wells from last month, you can go to Instagram and check out the Buxton Initiative. Please check out the resources at the library. Ebere worked with one of the librarians to make suggestions from our collection on books, films, music that she'd like to highlight. And so we do have a physical display cube in the library, which you can come to now. It's also available online. And then I know she recommended some books, and hopefully you can see this. This is Festival 77. It's a Black and African Festival of Arts and Culture journal magazine, and it looks really fantastic, and it's hot off the presses. It just got ready to go into circulation. So really excited to get ideas and expand our collection at the Ames Library. So Cameron, it's your turn. I'm gonna let you introduce Ebere, and I'll stop sharing the slides, and we look forward to your conversation.
Sure. Well, thank you, Susan, for that fabulous and great introduction. Again, I feel very honored and thankful for the Ames Public Library to house this particular event. Again, the Buxton Initiative is something that I've been working really hard on and tirelessly on, and so I feel very honored and thankful that you guys have allowed me to use your platform to empower Black creators and Black spaces and Black thoughts as well. So without further ado, before I get into introducing my lovely guest, Ebere Agwuncha, we first met when I was doing a lot of projects and I had to go to the fabrication space in Iowa State. And I always took it upon myself to introduce myself to every single Black individual I could find, because there's not many of us. And so but it's just a way of me letting other people know that I see you and I acknowledge your presence, because I know within an organization and within an institution like Iowa State, a PWI, is very easy for the presence of us to be minimized and not acknowledged. So I think I took it upon myself to make sure that everyone felt seen, because I know what that feels like. And so I met her there, and ever since it was a pleasure, because every time I come in, we would always have something to talk about, and it was always, very encouraging to not only hear her story, but then also hear about the work she's doing and the beautiful collaboration where she's allowed not only her own heritage into involvement within the work that she's doing now. So never forgetting where she came from, and always showing that beautiful relationship that comes in when it comes to new work. And I've always admired that about her. And I'm excited for you guys to see that. So without further ado, Ebere Agwuncha.
Oh, that was a beautiful intro.
Hey, I try my best, I really do. But
Yeah.
but seriously, I really appreciate you for being here and being a part of this with me, because I know this is fresh and new, and so there was a lot of kinks that we had to get through. But thank you for your patience and your time and your vulnerability too as well.
Mm. No, I appreciate you. I do remember those days in like the print fabrication lab.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you came in, even though the lines are super long, I would just be like smile on my face, because I'm like, oh, Cam's here, everything's okay. So thank you. No, thank you for the invite. Thank you for the introduction. I'm like really blessed to be in this space. So
no, I'm excited for people to actually get to see what I see in you and the work that you do and the things that you contribute to, not only to the world, but then also also highlighting your background and your never forgetting where you came from, because I think that's important. This country is done so well of erasing the past and trying to erase the past. I mean, we were just talking about CRT stuff, and so and you embracing that aspect and bringing that beauty back and showing the beauty of this history that we're talking about. I think it's a beautiful thing. So without further ado, the first thing I'm going to ask you is to give people a little bit about your background so they know about that history I'm talking about.
So first, if we can both quickly give visual representations of ourselves, I'll go first, just for accessibility. My name's Ebere Agwuncha. I use she, they pronouns. I am a dark-skinned Black woman. I have a gray collared dress on, gold earrings, white glasses. My hair is short and black, and I have a white background behind me. And then you can do one, and then I'll talk about my history.
For sure. Cameron Gray. I go by he, him pronouns. I am wearing a I don't know why I had to look down, but I'm wearing a red, white, and blue shirt with some red pants on, and I have dreads. And in my background, you'll see some shelves and a door. So yeah.
Beautiful. And some cats on the
ground. There's a cat. No cats in here though. This is
no
cat-free zone. Cat-free
zone. Yeah. So history. Where do I that's such a deep and semi-dark question.
Just start with your family,
immediate. Okay.
As a person, yeah.
So me as a person, I use a lot of very general terms to identify my historical background, but I'm an Igbo woman at heart. I am a Black woman. I am an African American woman. I am an Igbo American. I'm a Nigerian American. My parents are from Nigeria, so they were born there. And I was born here in America, specifically in Chicago. So I'm currently based in Chicago with my space and my work, but I actually live in Westchester with my family. And that's my history, I guess, geographically. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'll do again what Jill did, how I even got into the space.
Exactly.
I always growing up, I always had thing for like making things. And I just came to that actually recently during Father's Day. My dad, you know, I have four sisters, so he kind of treated me like the guy of the house. He'd always be like, "Hey, like, do you want to work on this project? Do you want to like put these carpet? Do you want to put some carpet on these stairs? Like, do you want to fix this AC thing?" It would always be like these weird fixes, and I would just be like, "Yeah, like I'll hold the flashlight for you." And then it started turning into like, "Oh, you can start drilling. Like, you can use a staple gun." Um, and those were just very, very little things. And I always like was always using my hands as a kid. And that's something that I always continue to focus on in my practice, because as much as, you know, I'm making something and there's like a product, like a quote product or object at the end, like I'm more interested in the process of how it got there. Um, so yeah, just kind of always using my hands as a kid. My dad's always like, "Oh, you're going to be an engineer." So like that's what I did. I went to Iowa State. Um, I started out in materials engineering and like was on probation. My parents didn't know. Like I
Yeah.
was like, this is not for me. Though I still was really good at coding. Like I was really good at certain elements of engineering. Um, and then one day, I graced into the College of Design, and they were having like the design fair, and I'm like, oh, these people are like cool. Like I see more of me. I see like people of color in this space. And then I just kind of walked towards the end, and I find this booth that was about industrial design, and I was like, wow, like this is exactly what I want to do. It's a space that combines engineering and art perfectly. So that's what I did, for the past 4 years, or I guess in college when I went to Iowa State University. Um, and it was a perfect space because I was able to also like use the wood shop and like actually use my hands. And then I was also able to design on a computer and like use CAD and all these technical programs. But now as I'm kind of like entering my actual practice, I'm realizing that like there is this like certain fusion I'm trying to get to with industrial design, because industrial design has been somewhat of a harmful practice, especially in like the terms of like mass production. But I'll stop there. That's where we get to like the good stuff now with this space.
Sure. No. Can you talk a little bit about how do you deal with those ideas of, because when you label a lot of those different types of ways that you identify yourself as, Igbo woman,
Oh.
African American woman. So like, how do you deal with all those things, and how do you see those things seeping into your practice too as well?
Ooh. If anything, like the first thing is the actual like coin terms, and I say coin because I don't have the person's name off the top of my head, but Nigeria, that term was not coined by like the Nigerians. It was
Mm-hmm.
coined by like this white person that came to this space and gave that term to identify that land. Also, black is a term that was coined by the white man. So that's why I say like Nigerian American in air quotes, because that's not truly identifying who I am, but in general language, that's how someone can immediately identify me, in like my place in the world. Um, and it just, I guess, language wise, that's something we have to do in order to like connect with others. But also hope that like me presenting in my work, you might not need to ask that question. That's what I'm trying to get to. Like you might not need to ask like, oh, where's that person from? Oh, I see this texture or like this symbol or this vector in her work. She's probably an Igbo woman. Like that's what I want to try to get to with my practice.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to have to be present in order for you to interpret my work as much. Though I do want to be present and like tell that story if you don't understand. Um, but yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, you did beautifully, and I think that's a perfect segue into, talking about your ceramics, because I feel like is that another way that you use that particular medium and wanting to learn that particular medium because you want to find to build up that better connection, because yes, you have it, within your family, your mom and your pops at home, and like where you can have those conversations about, Nigeria and understanding the culture, if you will, but to have your own relationship with that, is that the reason why you wanted to learn, ceramics and to get into pottery type stuff?
Yes and no. I mean, yes for the moment. I told myself, at this new year, like you do your New Year's resolutions, and I told myself I need to learn like one new skill, like one new hard skill this year. Um, in my previous work in like studios, and I'm still working in these studios and in this material, I usually use wood. So I've been so used to like that repetitive and like that material in the spaces I've been in. And so I just want to fully like continue that practice as well, but I just want to fully embrace something that I just felt like was my calling, at least for the moment. Wood is something that is obviously very well used within African communities, as in like wood carvings and wood decorations. But I just felt like ceramics was something that like I was able to vibe with a little bit more. And so like I mean I got into the practice because it's like I'm currently taking an intensive 8-week class, so it's like a current, ongoing thing. But I actually like ironically came into it because I realized that this really famous like woman who practices ceramics in Nigeria, Ladi Ladi Kwali, and she's a doctor as well. I realized that she was on the 20 Naira bill, which is like it's like a form of currency in Nigeria. And so like my dad like gave it to me one time as like a joke. And then I was like, oh, is that like clay? There was like clay on it and she's like kind of forming something. And I was like, okay, like I need to take the ceramics class. I already knew pottery was something big, but I get the good vibes like when I'm in the studio working with my hands and with clay. It just feels like right for this moment.
It's really beautiful. How do you think it will merge itself into your practice, or do you even know how that's gonna work yet? Because I could see like these really beautiful, black, pieces that you've what's the word I'm looking for? Coated in blackness, but then also using wood to then build these structures with the ceramic pieces too as well. And talking about that aspect, do you see that blend of those two things coming together like that, or if am I kind of off in that assumption?
No, that's exactly it. I see like a future of me and like my future work kind of like with an infusion with wood directly. I think with wood being more of like a harder material and ceramics being like soft at first, but then becoming hard once you fire it. It can even be like a more speculative like interaction with wood, not necessarily firing it, but I really do see like a future infusion of making wood and ceramic infused objects for my work. And so I think I'm really trying to take the time to like understand the craft and the material now.
Yeah.
Because I've never been in like an intensive class like this, though I have done industrial design. I wasn't necessarily like in the wood shop every day or like, every week. So I feel good about this
No,
space.
no, that's amazing. Do you have you been looking at, so like even like thinking about your influences, like thinking like that, even though you're focusing more on ceramics, so you've been looking at a lot of African pots and Nigerian really specifically pots and stuff to that degree to see how you like as you get those skills to build up, this is kind of the form that you want to create and stuff like that.
Yeah, I will say like because I know you were like, I'm gonna ask you about your inspirations.
For sure.
And I'm like, that's such a hard question because even when I'm like looking at images for a new project, most of the times I'm like on my computer or I'm like in a book that I was referred to on the computer. And then I also came to like this one stark time when I was going through the Met Museum, aka like stolen goods library. Like I found all these objects that like just spoke to me and I was like, why do I have to refer to things that are on a computer? Like it shouldn't be so stark to go to like this space and actually see the woman. Like these women are still practicing.
True.
It's makes me mad and like frustrated when I see like these images of these pots and like these objects in books that are like black and white. And it looks like it took place like hundreds of years ago, but it took place maybe like 10 years ago,
Exactly.
and it's still being done.
Yeah.
So just like that like what is it? It's basically like archiving us in the present day. I don't know what that term is, but that's what's keeping me like going, in this space.
Well, they make it seem like that through line isn't recent or present. You know what I mean? Like they make it seem like, oh, these are what these people were like then, and they are not like that now. Again, reiterating like this false narrative that we've always been seeing, like all those like commercials that you'll see online about, ooh, donate a penny, or this could save Black life in Africa. And it's like, yo, no, like y'all are totally off on the way that you're representing this particular continent in that aspect. And so I think another through line that I love about everything that you do is all about, again, like this aspect of like wanting to go see it, but then also this notion of also wanting to get your hands on stuff too, of this creation of, okay. And that's one thing I love about those beautiful slides that you've given us to use as reference of showing people what you do, is that notion of you creating with your hands, and like and that malleability that you do with, but then also your that is something very inherent of our ancestry too, as well, of that everything that we have done as a people have always been with our hands. Is that, so you're bridging that connection not only through your own work, but then also through the historical nature of ourselves too, as well, which I've always found really beautiful. I mean, do you see that same through line in the way that you use your hands and the way that you see your hands as you're creating?
Oh, like definitely. I'm like so thankful, and obviously, like I'm an able-bodied person. So I'm just like, that's something that I definitely took for granted for most of my life. And so I'm in this moment where I'm just like, I can't imagine life without both of my hands, like with that practice. And so I'm just, yeah, hands are everything. Hands define a person. I like looking at people's hands. Like looking at elders' hands. It tells stories. I have a friend that like had part of his hand cut open. And so like, I'm like, that's a story to tell later on, it doesn't look pretty, but it's gonna, it's a story to tell. So I love hands.
No,
I don't like feet, but I like hands.
I'm on the same. I'm on the same tip as you. Like I don't. Yeah, I can't really mess with feet.
I don't.
But no, I think there's something. You're right, because there's like every single cut that you have on these hands, or the things that you've been through, or like the moles or the marks that are on them, says that it's something very indicative to you. Whether it's something that happened when you were a kid to something that happened just a couple weeks ago, they're always doing something, or they're always again keeping that story alive because of the scars that we have on our hands, which I think is really, really beautiful and really encouraging. So let me make sure. Okay, cool. So now I'm excited to bring this up.
Wait, what is this?
No, good. No, it's good stuff.
Okay.
This is when you're about to, this is where I'm going to elevate you even more than what you already are. Please be the honor and telling people about this big thing that you're working on right now.
Oh, I was like, what are you talking? I'm working on too many things right now.
I know, but like the big,
yeah.
You know exactly what I'm talking about now.
Yes. Yes. So I'm so thankful. I will be participating in 2 biennials for this year's Chicago Architecture Biennial. There's different pronunciations, but I use several. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'll be on 2 teams. One team is In Care of Black Women, who is a collective based on the south side of Chicago. And I have a really cool team. We'll be making like a mini skate park and activating like a collage wall. So it'll be very interactive. And then my second project is with Project Hood, who is a organization also based in Woodlawn. Both activations are in Woodlawn. And that space is just like, we have a site visit tomorrow. It's just like massive, like it's amazing. But I definitely encourage, I can drop the link for the Chicago Architecture Biennial, but I definitely encourage looking at the other sites and even take a trip down to Chicago. Activations start September 17th. So it'll just be like a really fun time, but I'm so excited. I'm still kind of like out of the world that like I'm even working on this sort of project.
Look.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Huge.
It's huge, man. Like, so look, so let's talk about let's break some of these projects down. So like Can you talk a little bit about, I guess we'll start with the first one you mentioned first.
Mhm.
And we'll, because there's a lot of questions that we could talk about both of them. So I want to make sure that I want to highlight both equally. So we'll start with the first one you're working on right now. So tell us a little bit about that. Elaborate a little bit more on it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna drop a link in. So the first project is based on, or the first project is on 63rd and University, South University Ave. So there used to be a train stop actually in this space, and so we're kind of embracing like this history of, there was a lot of movement in this area. I mean, there's obviously still movement, but there used to be an actual stop in this land, on this space. And with the Chicago Architecture Biennial, the theme is the available city, and the artistic director is David Brown. And so the idea is to transform whether it is vacant lots, privately owned lots, city lots, into some type of activation, really kind of pushing for like this communal gathering, communal artistic design, using architecture as well. And I'm not even an architect, and I'm in this space. So I'm just trying to like really embrace like my histories as well, but also someone who, is from the suburbs of Chicago. It's kind of intimidating to be in the space, because for the longest I didn't feel like I really like could call Chicago my home, and I'm finally getting to that space where I can call it my home, especially being in the space like all my life. Yeah, that's a really fun activation. There's gonna be a skate park. There's like a collage wall. We're also collaborating with Nature Architecture, which is this like all African Black woman architectural design studio who's based in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really cool collaboration because they'll be building something on our site, and then since they aren't necessarily there, we'll kind of have our own space and be doing things as well. But it's going to be a really cool infusion to be working with them. And then my second project quickly is just, it's in collaboration with Project Hood and New Beginning Church. And so the founder of both, or the person of both, is Pastor Corey Brooks Sr. And he, if you're from Chicago, like, this person, he's very prominent. Like, he has too many followers on Facebook. Like, he's just always posting random things. And he's kind of like been our spirit for the space. About 10 years ago, he kind of climbed on top of this abandoned motel, which is right across from his church where he preaches. And so the idea was like to raise funds by camping out on this land, and that's the land that we're activating on. So we want to kind of embrace the same format and hopefully have some projections on the space, have them actually go up in a crane to the same elevation and activate again. And we want it to be kind of like interactive. So at least in my mind, like I kind of brought this like speculative interaction to the space, not just like very structured and like design architecture, like how are the people feeling in the space? Is it going to be fun? Like, yeah, so I'm too excited. Like, please come to Chicago and like visit for a weekend. There'll be some really fun activations taking place.
No, I love that. I think one thing that is so like even when you talking about this, what is very stark and like something that popped out to me was not only this notion of, we're reviving dead space, if you will, or this quote unquote idea of dead space, which is all parameters based on whiteness, if you will, because these things are being activated, just not in the way that some people would say they're being activated. But it's also bringing spirit back into these spaces too, especially places that aren't being utilized by the city. And it was like, okay, well, y'all had this, like, because we see that so many times, like even when I go back home to Birmingham, there was a spot where there used to be a playground that is nothing there anymore. And so it's like, what are we doing to bring these spaces back, and how are we reviving them? And so one thing I love about what y'all are doing is that, again, it's like no one has forgotten about this space. We just want y'all to see how beautiful this space is, why it isn't. Yeah, exactly, the potential of it.
And that makes me think of, there's one person, Sue, I'm going to answer you in a second, but that makes me think of, there was this recent post going on with Kennedy and MJ, I believe, and they own this land. If someone knows what I'm talking about, they're good friends. I just don't remember. It's like Grady, no. They own a farm, I believe. And so they have to like merge with another farm because there's this like land use thing that's going on where you can't be like, I don't know, it's just policy at this point. And so like there's so many hoops, even with our activations, there's so many hoops you have to jump through just to activate something, just to use a space. Technically you're like not supposed to walk on like city-owned lots. Like who has a map out and like is just like, yo, I can't walk on this space, I can't activate this space. And yeah, so yeah, this activation is literally right near the Obama Presidential Library that's coming to Chicago. And it's ironic because like there's also public housing right in our space, right behind our space. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things develop. There's already houses going up, there's already condos going up one street down us. And it's really sad because a lot of these spaces, a lot of these lots maybe cost like 8,000 last year, even the year before. And now they're like threefold, tenfolds in these spaces. And so community members can't even buy their own space, like spaces that are right next to them in their house, which is just ridiculous. Like all the developers are just like buying up land. They're not even using it. They're just keeping it in their pockets. And so I never thought I would even get into the space of like land use policy as well with the biennial. So that's been a really interesting space to be in for this period.
Has there been a lot of drawbacks? I mean, as in like fight for you guys to act, even like to even act, like even though you guys have gotten commissioned to do this project, that aspect of even like trying to get on that land to do the things has there been that much of like mounds and mounds of legality that y'all have to go through?
Yeah, and even the director himself, like he presented this project in 2019. So there's only been 4 biennials, and so this is the 4th one. He presented this project, and so with him actually doing the project this year, there's so many things that he didn't even know that he would have to address. Like we have to talk to the aldermans of the wards, the people that are in the space. On our lot for In Care of Black Women, we wanted to actually activate on the grassy land. There's this huge grassy plot. And so we got into the hardship of like, since it's really weird lingo, there's probably actually language, but since some of the land might be contaminated in Chicago or in general areas because a lot of industrial facilities were around, you're not able to like disturb the soil. So you have to like lay down this thick bed of wood chips in the space, and it just takes a lot of time. And so we had to move to a paved area because we were coming into so many walls with trying to just activate on grass. So, I mean, even in this space, like the director and the people that we're working with on the team, there's so many things we have to go through, so many people we have to like ask for permission to do things because we don't necessarily own these spaces. So yeah, it's been a very interesting like time because I'm like, as much as, you know, when you're in architecture school, you're in design school, you can propose something on a lot or in a space. But they don't go over like, you're gonna have to talk to the alderman and present something to the community and get like a certain amount of votes in order to get something improved. Like they don't talk about that. But that's something I found really interesting.
So how many design how many times has the actual project changed because of these particular things, that these roadblocks that y'all guys are finding out as you're doing?
I mean, I say things change on a weekly basis. On one of our projects, on the one with Project Hood, we're finally getting to like a closer design. But we have to also like go get a permit. We have to go through the construction engineers to make sure that things are built appropriately. Things can't be over 15 feet high. Like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, as with building anything in a space, and especially with us only starting this past March on this project, like it's a very quick turnaround for something that's so large and grand. So it's a part of the process, and it makes it that much like more fun and like painful at the same time. But yeah, it's like, that's something they can't really teach you, I guess, in school.
No, I mean,
just get there and learn.
For sure. I mean, you just got to dive in. But I think that's something really interesting about, because then not only are you learning more things about your own practice and how do you manage those particular, like when you do come up with a roadblock, how do you mentally manage that? But then you're also learning about almost the legality of all these kind of stuff that to some degree one might seem that it doesn't make sense that these things are up, you know what I mean? Like I understand having the aldermans and all that kind of stuff, but then like the things that the city itself is imposing on these particular communities, even when you're trying to revive them, and those roadblocks to even stifle that is kind of crazy too as well. And seeing that relationship between the two too.
Yeah, I mean, it's really been a time. That's all I can say. And I think one of my biggest things is like, I'm not necessarily living in the city, but it has been very interesting to see like how different partners and how different, you know, people in the city kind of like host that chain or like host that ownership. So like anything also has to like semi go past them to do things. I'm saying that like in a very like general terms way. I'm not applying that to anyone, but yeah, it just, will I do this again? Maybe, but I think it would be interesting to do it in a space where we're actually just like given a space to activate on. If I do this once, like I'm like, come on, each time to jump all these hoops.
For sure. I mean, see, look, that's why I'm doing these little installations now. Look, they Cam, they let you go, and then if you something off, then you'll just apologize. It's like, oh my bad, and then you step backwards. But let me see what time. Make sure. Okay, so it is 40. We got so we hit our mark. So let's look and see what these questions are, if we have any.
Oh yeah, Jill. Put something in.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong little thing. Hold on, let me see. Here we go. Okay. So Jill, you know, my previous guest and great friend.
Yes.
Jill Wells has asked, going back to you inspirations, like talking about your inspiration. May I ask, when was the last time you were inspired by an in-person interaction versus computer that you've created about? Also, well, I'll let you answer that first. And I'll answer the other question.
Action versus computer that you created. Oh, wow, that's such a hard. I mean, this is probably like a hybrid of both. It was with one of my mentors, and I was telling him about how I just like am taking the ceramics class. And so he like just had a trip in Nigeria. So he like pulled up this book to refer to me to it. It's like an Igbo ceramics book or Nigerian ceramics book. And so we were kind of going through it, and I was like, yeah, this is like really cool. Like I just took it just to kind of refer to. And then he like we land on this page, and so one of the images that he took in person in Nigeria was something that was actually in the book. And so it was just very interesting to see like we even found like the description of where the people were from, where the women were from in the village that they did their practice in. And so like it was just like a very big like epiphany moment, seeing that like this image that's like depicted in black and white in this book was actually in color on his phone. And so that was a very interesting moment. And something similar to what I said earlier, like how it seems like our past are like our current histories are archived immediately. Like I'm in the past already as I'm talking, and it's like we're in the future. So it's just interesting that was a good question. Wow.
She always got the good ones. So let me ask you this, because I don't think we have. Let me see if we have any more before I begin.
Oh, there's one more. Also, what do you think about creating comics about hands and the stories hands tell? Oh. I need to think about that. The whole time I've actually been taking my class, and I'm a person, I usually like to record myself, like very on the low key if I can, but I haven't recorded myself this whole time. Like I've taken images here and there because I'm like, oh, I can post this on the Buxton page, but I just took them for me to kind of see like where my progress in this space. So I hope there is a future where I like do record things. I think I'm in a space where I need to just like it's not necessarily a distraction because it is very helpful in some cases. But yeah, I do see that happening, at least with like this kind of hand telling, storytelling of like past histories of ceramics, current histories of women that are practicing, and then like my hybrid infusion becoming something as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So this as you continue to dive deeper into your practice and really starting to see these blend of not only history but the African and American collaboration, if you will, but then also the idea of materials and then also space. How do you see your practice coming? Like, what do you see your practice going, or can you even see it where it's going to go?
I I ask myself that every day. Like anytime I talk to a friend, I'm just like, um, uh, I'm just like, I'm in a transition period, or like I'm trying to find myself. I feel like I say that every single time when I talk to a friend. Um, and I think that's just me saying like I'm constantly moving. My good friend Taylor would say like the cure to motion sickness is to like keep moving or like keep going, you know. And I even had this bracelet at one time that said "keep going" on my wrist. Um, so I'm just gonna like kind of I'm gonna vibe with it, vibe with ceramics, see where it takes me. I hope to do a ceramics residency or some type of like intimate space to just be with the material in the next year. So that would be like kind of a dream um, at the moment. But yeah, I also like I feel like I'm in two worlds, but like two combined worlds where I'm like in this very creative practice and like handcraft based project practice, but I'm also in like a very like architectural world and like design world that can also be commercialized. So I'm like running this line of like how far do I want to take um, my practice and like I don't want to say commercialize it because I do need an income, but yeah, I don't know.
No, it's a
I'm moving. That's my answer. I'm
no,
moving.
no, for sure. It's a hard thing to have to come to terms with. Is like this notion of wanting to exist out of the world, if you will, but then being somewhat forced into it at the same time. I know we've had conversations about that with us just personally. Is that how do you deal with that push and pull of like, yes, I need money, but at the same time, like, how do I also stay true to what I want to create and stay true to the object or the vision that I have for these particular works that I'm making too. And I think that's the hardest part about what we do is trying to find that balance. And to give you any type of, make you feel any better, I haven't figured it out for my darn self yet.
Hey, so
But
why
we
are you
were,
asking me that question?
I don't know, I just wanted to see, I just wanted to see what you say.
No, no, no.
Sometimes it's always nice to have those little gotcha questions to see how you're gonna respond. Because like we might have talked about this maybe a week ago, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of things. There's a
On
lot of things.
Sunday services.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of things that could change in a week, and so I just want to assume that you maybe had a better, grasp on things. But I feel no, but I feel that though. I feel like that. But then I do appreciate what you said about giving yourself the freedom to just feel and to react, because I think that's what a lot of artists or creators or designers don't give themselves the opportunity to do, because we've been molded into this idea of consumerism, like you're talking about, of like, I gotta put something out, but not giving ourselves the space to talk about.
Exactly. And I want to answer one last after your beautiful words. Thank you. There's one more question in the chat by Emmanuel Agba. Since you have some engineering experience, I accidentally put answered. I haven't answered it. Since you have some engineering experience, do you see any interaction between arts and engineering, and how will you describe it? There has been interaction with arts and engineering, at least what I've seen so far. Like this exact image right here on the screen. That's one image that like is forever ingrained in my like mind. It's like this huge structure that is just to store yams, which is like a potato in Nigeria. And so I came upon that image about a year ago. Um, and I was trying to like depict like what it was. I was like, okay, like kind of looks like some foliage. Like I couldn't really tell what it was. And then I
Mm-hmm.
was like, what would be stored like that? I did my engineering like backwards thing. Like, what would be stored like that? What needs to dry? What needs to be off the ground? And I was like,
Yeah.
it has to be some type of vegetable or some type of large thing. And I was like, it's a yam. It's definitely a yam. That's the only thing I think of. And then I did research, and yeah, ultimately it was a yam. So again, like this is an image taken in 1910, and I don't, maybe some don't really categorize this as art, but like I see this as an art. Like this person was able to build this huge structure. Um, it looks beautiful, like,
Yeah.
and they're able to engineer it to actually hold this like very heavy item. So I think it has been done. But I do think there's a lot of, I would drop a link, but I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. But um, there's been some cool people that have worked at like with MIT. There's a really cool program there that kind of intersects like design and making. So I think yeah, that's definitely been like a really cool space uh, that I think has been explored, and that's something that has kept me going, at least with engineering items, quote engineering, making, building by hand or with machine. I do use machine sometimes, like pottery. Though with ceramics, most Nigerian people, most Nigerian women use hand building or coiling, but I'm using wheel throwing, which is like a electronic or powered item. So I do think there's like even a hybrid of like what I'm actually using to produce my work outside of like the actual form itself. If that makes
No,
sense.
no, that makes perfect sense. Now it's got me asking, thinking about like, do you ever? Because I know there's ways of creating something where it doesn't have any nails or anything to that degree, and to understand that notion of hand building, that is
Jointing,
something that
yeah.
is
Yep.
that isn't like using metal or anything of where it's purely put together, as
Mhm.
in like a slip. I don't know what you would call that, of like hand screws that are you know or what do you call it, dowels that are put together to create. Have you ever thought about doing like, is that something that you're also thinking about, of like creating a structure that is almost completely devoid of some like these modern ideas of what could hold them together or to build structures?
Mhm. Oh, yeah, definitely. I think of like joinery and like
Exactly.
the like Japanese people are like profound for using this technique even for houses.
Hmm.
Nigerians use the same form. Several other cultures use that like joint technique, and that's something that I want to do. But I tell myself like I'm in the ceramic space, but I do want to go to like a full like furniture class in the future. That's something that I need to do because I worked with like Normandy Design Studios in Chicago, and we mostly use plywood
Yeah.
in that space and a lot of nails and glue. And so, um, yeah, I want to kind of step back. I still want to use that because it is an efficient practice, and it is something that like is accessible. Um, but I do want to kind of come back and like learn about like more about carving. I have like my own carving tools at home, so I try to carve on this piece of wood when I can. Um, and I also want to like learn those joining techniques for assembling objects. So yeah.
If you want to learn something about printmaking,
Oh,
you know
print printmaking too. I'll put
yeah,
that on the list.
I got you, like, because I
Where's your
think
class?
hey, look, we'll figure that out later. But no, like I think there's something really beautiful about. So when you're talking about carving, you're talking about actually taking a block of wood and then carving something into it, correct? Like as in
Yeah.
three-dimensional object, rather and instead of like the recessed aspect of it, right?
Yeah, like carving like if there's a flat plane and then you carve like you scoop the wood out to make a bowl or you make a spoon. So that's more so like the very, very like hand-based technique of like carving into wood and making a form. Um, but then there's also just like stripping something down so you can have like two joints that can lock in together. And that can also be done by hand. It takes longer, but um, I think that's such a precious project or such a precious practice. Um, that I like have to learn. Because I guess my like slight, what time? Okay, we have like, what time? We have like a few minutes.
Yeah, we're good. Don't worry. Keep going.
I guess like the reason I kind of went to ceramics is like I was obviously getting all these callings. I spoke to like this really well-known ceramicist earlier this year, and then I spoke to like Iodele, who actually teaches at Iowa State, and so he told me about how he like took this class with a ceramist person that like appeared on the 20 Naira bill earlier this year, and I was like, wait, like you took her class? Like little did I think that I would meet this person from like this Nigerian person at Iowa State, and he's like, you know, I need to talk to him. I haven't talked to him in such a long time, but yeah, it's just like listen to your space, listen to your world. Like I'm happy to be in this space with you. Obviously, like we have our Sunday chats, and it's like really good energy to like start the week on. So thank you, Cameron, too, just for like everything.
No, I mean I think it's important for us to, you know, as creatives, but then also as, you know, Black folks in this world, to make sure that we have that connection with each other and making sure that we, you know, lift other people as we climb. Like that's the reason why I wanted to do this particular, you know, the Buxton initiative, is that notion of like, you know, I don't want to eat by myself when I you know, get to the place that I want to be. And so that's the same thing I want to offer that hand to you as well, because, you know, I really appreciate you as a person, but then the things that you're doing is really important too. And so to be surrounded by people like that is important. And I think that's important for all of us to continue to thrive in what we do. But okay, so we got I would say about 5 minutes left. So
we just like keep going.
I mean, no, I want you to
I'm joking. We will respect your time.
No, we got to do your plugs first. I want you to get your plugs off so that people know what you're doing, you know, how to find you, all that kind of stuff. Because, you know, I don't want people to run out before, you know, 8 o'clock. So let's go ahead and get that. If we want to talk further, we can. But I just want to get this out of the way.
Yeah, so definitely follow the Buxton Initiative. I will be posting on there for a few more days, right? Like until takes over.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll be posting a few more things there. And yeah, you can. I think my website's already there. I think it's linked already, maybe.
Yeah, I think Rosie dropped it in the chat.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If you have access to Ames, the Ames Public Library, please visit. There's also some music there that you can listen to, my like ultimate favorites. And yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, or you can just like honestly like email me. I do like emailing, so if you want to be like, hey, like let's talk, I like your practice. I email a ton of people, so it's not weird. Yeah, email me. That's it.
Well, no,
you can drop my email in the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Ebere.
Barry, is there a particular date?
What is my email? What?
Is there a particular date in which the Biennale will be, that project will be up, or is it going to be like a year from now? What time is that? I want people to know that too as well.
Yeah, so the biennial, some activations actually start this summer, just to kind of get the summer vibes going. But so it starts September 17th, and then it goes until technically December 18th. Some projects are going to be, that's of this year. Some projects will kind of continue until next year, but most activations are kind of set on specific weekends. So for Woodlawn, which is where I am in, my activation like sponsored cab weekend is October 2nd and 3rd, and October 23rd and 24th, I believe. But everything's on the cab website, and if you follow them as well on Instagram, like they're going to be announcing these things. So yeah, definitely drop in. I would even suggest to come September 17th if you are visiting Chicago. If you can visit Chicago, if you can, like I definitely press to do that. Yeah, and just kind of visit all the sites in one day. Like it'll be a trip, but you can just grab your pass and like take trains and buses and, you know, travel.
No, that sounds awesome. No, if I come, I'm not, you know, I might see the other ones, but I'm definitely coming for yours specifically. But but no, so I will, so the shout outs that I would like to, things I want people to know is, okay, so we have Mortar Monoliths Project, which is, what we're doing right now, which is amazing. We have one more person that's going to be another artist and designer, Yolanda Sanders, who will be our next artist for this particular series to close us out. And then in August, we'll have a panel discussion with everybody here, which I'm really excited about because I think there's some really beautiful through lines that take place within Jill's, Ebere's, and Yolanda's work, and I'm excited to have a conversation about that.
And that conversation, camps, will be live between you all, live in the Ames Public Library's auditorium and virtual. So if people are local, they can come, but if they're in Chicago or Nigeria, they can watch.
Another thing that I want to plug is that I have a show open currently right now it's called The Place is the Space at the Olson Larson Guild Gallery. It's an installation space this coming Sunday, and we're going to be doing this bi-weekly that we'll be actually feeding people, is that we're going to be, I have a cook artiste, the chef. He's going to be cooking a dish that I'm then going to be offering the ancestors this Sunday. There'll be more information on timing and all that kind of stuff. I believe we're going to start cooking around 3:00 because I really wanted to have it in conjunction with the time that me and my family would be eating, like after church, when I remember as a kid. So we're trying to keep that same understanding of it too. I'm trying to think what else, if I'm missing anything. Everybody, if you want to support the Buxton Initiative and continue with this type of program, want to expand this particular project, there's a link. If you go to my Instagram at cam_go, like Van Gogh, I have the Buxton Initiative in my link tree. Or if you want to just reach out to me, Susan, if you don't mind, can you place my email in the chat, so if people want to reach out that way or contact me of different ways they want to donate, as in food or time or anything to that degree, we will accept that as well. So, Ebere, it has been a true pleasure, to have you here and to, I don't know, it's just really beautiful to have the opportunity to show and for people to see what I see in you, but then also the work that you do and the importance of, I think, your work is for the world and itself, but then also for this particular time that we're in and in Chicago. So I just feel very honored that you've given me your time and even your month to be a part of this event. So it means a lot to me. So thank you.
My honor, Cameron. Thank you so much to you, obviously, Ames Public Library, Rosie, Susan, everyone on this team. So thank you so much. Even everyone behind the scenes, people that help get the bookscape together, like really, really. And Jill, previous, Yolanda, next, like, love you all.
Yeah, no, this was great. Yeah. Hope it wasn't too painful.
No.
But I think that concludes our talk, and I want to thank everybody for showing up and being a part of this. This means a lot. And yeah, stay tuned. We got more coming. Promise you that.
More coming.
More coming.
Yes.
Oh.